you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks, it's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the Iron Lady sings that makes official. Welcome to 16 years, 2,800 episodes of the Chris Voss Show. We bring you the most amazing people on the show as one of the oldest podcast broadcasts still broadcasting.
Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind.
Now, we have an amazing young man on the show with us today. We're going to get into it with him. William Brooke Webb Jr. joins us on the show. He's the author of 2 books that are out right now, Volume 1 and 2, Unjust Gaggle of Gavels. We're going to get into it with him and find out what this is all about, what his story is, and how maybe he can inspire you to do the good work he has. William Webb is an innovator in the medical laboratory field where he built multiple locations and led a team of more than 50 employees. As a whistleblower against Henry Schein Incorporated, he faced retaliation that threatened his business and livelihood. His book, Unjust Gaggle of Gavels, exposes the unchecked practices and liabilities he endured, offering readers both an informative account and cautionary tale. His work seeks to empower others to stand up, share their stories, and survive similar attacks while shedding light on ongoing challenges in the Oklahoma medical laboratory space. Welcome to the show, William. How are you, sir?
Very blessed. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thanks for coming on the show with us. Give us any .coms, any websites, any social media, wherever you want people to get in touch with you over the book.
I don't have any of that right now. There's some that are being hosted by others, but to get me directly, I don't have any of that.
All right. Do you want to give an email? You can give an email. Some people do that in your case.
willwebb47@att.net. Mm-hmm. That's WILLWEBB47@att.net.
People can reach out to you on the book. They love to be able to contact authors on the book and find out more, and of course, get in touch. So, William, give us a 30,000 overview of what's in your first volume, Unjust Gaggle of Gavels.
Well, in the first volume, you will see kind of like the vertical integration of how big business can work together against a small business like myself. Mm-hmm. Whenever things don't turn out the way that they would like it to perceive, then they can change the outcome. Pretty simple. And I thought I was doing right by exposing something, and it turned out to cost me my livelihood and my business in the end.
Wow. So give us a deeper dive into this. Tell us who are the players involved there in this book, and maybe a little bit of overview on how it unfolded.
Well, what it does, it explains the kind of the nature of how I was transitioning into a different type of medical, where I used to be in the sleep lab field. And then as I transformed into urine drug toxicology testing, I was needing some new equipment. And that is whenever I found Travis Matthews at Henry Schein. Who's Henry Schein?
Give us some details on that too.
Henry Schein is just a medical company that supplies medical supplies. A lot of people know them as dental supplies, but they do work in the medical field as well. Mm-hmm. And so I was needing some equipment, and Travis Matthews was great. He got me what I needed. So as far as getting me what I needed, he's a heck of a salesman. He did a top job. I had another friend that could have tried to get it for me, and he was faster. So I chose to go with Travis because he got it done quick. So give him his credit for what he was.
So what happens then?
So as I start growing my urine drug tox business, Travis and I start co-marketing, seeing how he benefits from as my business grows, that he gets more sales, reagents, things like that. I buy more equipment. Mm-hmm. I spent millions of dollars with Henry Schein over the years. Travis obviously commissioned from that. Yes, we had a great life. There was times I was making $100,000 a day. Mm-hmm. There's good money in medical, more than I ever made in the sleep industry. So I was very blessed for that. Mm-hmm. So blessed for Travis, blessed for what he brought me. What I didn't expect him and his wife to open a competing lab and then to create NDAs and make lies about me and where I'm at today. And basically, that's what's great about the book. It's a 44-page analogy of where I feel that it went, and then the rest are just legal documentations of showing the facts and evidence of why it's transpired the way it did. Mm-hmm. And it just explains the rabbit wormhole and how big business kind of controls everything.
Yeah. I learned years ago when I first became highly successful, we built several multi-million-dollar companies running at the same time. And I learned that the rich don't do war anymore like you would do in the dark ages, where they just come maraud your house or your village and steal all your crap. The rich do war through the courts. And, people just sue each other, a lot of shakedown lawsuits and things. And that's how I learned what the next level was. And so you're right. So you built this business. How many years is it? And have you been doing it at this point? And do I have an understanding right that basically this gentleman probably saw how much money you were making and went, well, we should just cut him out and then start our own thing and copy his business? Is that
100%? And that's the great thing about it is the great thing about this book that it is completely unredacted. The depositions for Shay Matthews is in there, from Travis Matthews is in there. So the fact that there's no lies, I mean, the truth is out there. I mean, they knew that they had me where they wanted me because they had Henry Schein to attack me. I mean, who would blame them? Let's be real. I mean, if you have that opportunity, I mean, so again, that explains why they're still in business today. And this attack happened years ago, over 5 years. I've been out of business since 2019.
Wow.
And so, I mean, they've been in the lab space almost longer than I have.
So they were working at Henry Schein and working with you. They set up their own competing business with you. Does the business compete with Henry Schein, or are they buying from Henry Schein to service their business like you were using Henry Schein to service yours?
Yes, sir. They would basically be doing the same thing that I'm doing, or using some medical company to get their supplies.
Wow. And you went to Henry Schein and you said, hey, these guys are mucking about here, probably against their contracts for non-compete or something on their whatever, their working tool systems here. Yeah. And you try and warn them. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, sir. So, I warned them. And basically, Henry Schein just played both angles. And what I mean is they pretty much committed a federal crime, but they kept it in a civil lawsuit. And if you know much about law, like you just said, if you're not in the right spot, nothing's going to happen anyhow. So they basically kept it. And when you look at the final outcome of it, the total charge was $17,000 and change that they charged Travis Matthews for all these years of fighting them in court. I mean, It makes no sense. I mean, it just screams, and that's what's great about it. If you read it, you're just going to be blown away yourself. Nobody would ever believe that it's possible to happen. And that's what's great about it. That's why you got to read it for yourself. It's really eye-opening.
I mean, the things I saw in court, because a lot of times in court, you're sitting there waiting for your case. And my last name is Voss, so I'm always at the end of the docket. They always alphabetize the docket. But it's always been an interesting learning journey to sit in the pews and watch people. There were some times where we appealed cases, and then I had some speeding tickets with my BMW, and so I appealed cases. And in Utah, it's a fairly small state, so they would put me in the appellate courts. Would end up being like domestic violence court or something. So I ended up sitting watching domestic violence court, and I'd be at the end of the docket. So I'd watch like all these people come in with all these things, and I'm there for a speeding ticket appeal. and I had these evil attorneys that taught me a lot, and these guys were pure evil, but they were also defenders of your rights. I mean, there's certain rights we're given under the Constitution, and you play in those rights until they say it's against the law. And so if it's in the law, play it. You have a right to ask for evidence, and you have a right for discovery, but you can make discovery pretty ugly if you want. So anyway, they taught me these things just to appeal tickets into infinity. And by the time you end up losing somewhere near the Supreme Court in appeals, the ticket has expired. It's a hit that it would take to your insurance. Anyway, I don't know if you can still get away with that, but it was great during the day because I got a lot of tickets to that BMW. But yeah, you just learn that, you know, you can win in court. You know, you can win or lose in court on any given Sunday. It's kind of like that movie. You can win or lose in court on any given judge's whim, right?
Agreed, because it's not about the law anymore. It's about who can argue the best argument.
Yeah. And I've been in cases where we've won on one point and lost on another. We've taken it to appellate court, and it flips. The one we lost on, we win on. The one we won on, we lost on. It's like just any given Sunday, or you know, whatever.
And that's kind of what's good about this is when you look at it, it actually went to trial, and then when you look at the courts, if you've ever been to a jury trial, you'll see that there's jury instructions, right? And the unique thing about it is you'll see, if you look at the jury instructions, that my rights of obtaining any type of award was taken away because of my horrible attorney before we even went to trial. And it says,
really?
And it shows, right? Oh yeah, that's what's great about it. So when you read the evidence itself, the jury people are like, "Dude, where does Webb get something out of this?" "Oh, don't worry about him. His attorney didn't file it. Too bad for him."
Oh, wow.
Serious. It's in there. The judge is crazy. I told the judge that, I said, "Look, I said, not only did I not want him as my attorney, I want to advocate for myself. And not only that, I found paperwork and that was filed on my behalf that Henry Schein submitted. Is like 100-something page document that had all this supporting documents. So they're only things that their attorneys could get, right? And it had my name on it, like I submitted it. And then it has it submitted again a few days later with my electronic signature. And I asked for a receipt of that. She wouldn't give it to me. In fact, what I got is I got vipered in my own court case. I was forced to have an attorney that I didn't want, and I was vipered because I called them out for what they did was so corrupt. I mean, I'm serious.
What does vipered mean?
It means that I was not allowed to talk.
Oh.
And so if my attorney, I wouldn't, like, normally if you hire an attorney to represent you, that attorney is going to sit there and advocate for you on your behalf. But for me, I wasn't allowed to talk. I couldn't, my attorney had to talk for me. And I had to sit there and be attacked the whole time and let them badger me and attack me and just sit there and just take it because, obviously I was the bad person, because if I wasn't the bad person, how do they have a claim?
No,
it's crazy.
How did this work? Did you sue them or did they sue you?
I sued them. I sued them initially. Okay. And I'll be honest with you. Once they fired Travis, I was like, dude, here's the thing, because I warned them when I told them what was going on and they couldn't find any evidence of a lab. And I said, look, because I already had the paperwork there. And then whenever I found that the lab existed through the MPI number, I sat there and filed this lawsuit. And then they fired Travis within days. And the second they fired him, I dropped the lawsuit because, again, I thought that was good enough. I didn't realize that all this other stuff was in the background. And then Travis comes back and sues me later and Henry Schein and tags me in this 3-way lawsuit. And Henry Schein and Travis are working together and conspiring to drag it out to eternity. And that's why it's the longest case in court history in Oklahoma. Oh, it is. Oh my God, it takes forever. Maybe there's some longer, but in today's world, it's the longest one we could find when we looked it up. I mean,
how long did the whole thing take?
Over 5+ years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that all this discovery that they were needing, and the judge was pretty upset because when it was time to go to pretrial, I never had a deposition yet. So I went 2-3 years, all this time, not even being deposed because they didn't want to hear from me. They knew what they did to me. And then the judge got on to them because they never deposed me and said, oh, we can't go to trial. We haven't deposed him yet. She's like, what do you mean? And so I went to deposition and I cooked it. That's why my deposition is in there. If my attorney would have done something right, I wouldn't even have had to go to trial because I was that good. Yeah. And it's in there. And guess what? He forgets to ask. Forgets that. Well, I lose. And so eventually in trial, and then we're supposed to argue everything that we want for pretrial. He didn't submit anything again. So guess what? I lost out on that. So yeah, it shows what happens whenever they work together. I come to find out that his wife is a judge and she's friends with Shay. And hindsight, foresight, my own attorney was working against me. It's crazy.
Now, who's Shay?
Shay Matthews is Travis's wife, which is actually friends with Billy Coyle, which is my attorney, his wife, which she's a judge. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you got judges, you got everything, man. It's in Oklahoma. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's a wild, wild west, what they said, and it's every bit of it. That's why, that's why we don't have cameras in courtrooms. We're still one of the very last few, states they don't allow it, because why? They don't want to be scrutinized.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty wild, man. So in book 2, how does this work? You've got book 1, you've got book 2. How does this play out? What's in book 2?
Well, book 2 starts with my deposition and then the rest of the facts that button it all together. And in book 2, it kind of has a surprise ending that we weren't expecting when we actually submitted this book for publishing. And we found out that it would not all fit in one volume because you can only put so many pages in a book. And we broke it down into 2 volumes. And during that breakdown time, we actually got the Supreme Court win, or they call it the district court. It's the layer right before the Supreme Court. Shay Matthews got a VPO against me, and we fought to have it overturned, and we won with crazy colors because she violated my rights and civil liberties in getting it. And so it got reversed, vacated, and published, which is massive, by the way. So when you talk about things getting overturned at that level, to reverse something is not very much happens, but to reverse, vacate, and then they publish it, that's a trifecta, because they screwed up big time. They want to make sure. So now the cool thing is that other attorneys are going to get to use my case in future cases because of what they did. So to me, that's cool. It's part of history, if you will. So I try to look at the bright side of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gotta do that. What do you hope people learn from your book? What do you hope that they come away with?
I hope they come away with that. Don't always judge a book by its cover. There's always 2 sides to every story. Mm-hmm. And it's not always the person of the big business. It's not always the billionaires that say the truth, and it is what it is. Unfortunately, you got to realize that they're in this world to make money. I was in this world just to help people. Mm-hmm. And so we had 2 different motivating factors. Theirs was money, mine was the community. But the problem is that a community can never beat money, not in today's world. So, we got to make changes. We got to acknowledge what's going on in this world today. We got to make changes so we are protected, so we do have these rights. Yeah.
Nowadays.
Yeah. And I think the most important thing is that if you don't know your rights, then you have none. And that's the big thing to get across. People think they know their rights, but really we don't. Nobody knows their rights.
Yeah. It's, and a lot of it's big business and big money. It's, the one thing I've learned is, you can really bleed out people in a courtroom. Like I said, I learned from a lot of evil attorneys. You can really bleed people out in discovery. You can make discovery very painful, and you can make it go on for a very long time. And so really it's just, when I have discussions with people that have done damage to our business and I threaten to sue, I just get on the phone with the attorneys and explain what we're going to do. And I explain to them, we don't have to win. We just have to bleed you to death in attorney's fees to the point that you're going to wish that you just would have settled and given me the damage that you'd done to my company or my business or my personal. And usually when I explain that to attorneys, they call up the client and go, "You've grabbed a rattlesnake. You need to let this thing go and just pay him whatever the settlement is, because it's not going to be worth what you're going to do." And he plans on just extorting you in freaking attorney's fees. And I'm not sure.
You're 100% right. You're 100% correct. My book explains exactly what you're talking about. They bled me into bankruptcy. So you're 100% correct. You're right on.
Yeah. They just destroy you. And so, it really is big business, big money, against the little guy that's David and Goliath. And so if you don't have, millions and millions of dollars to hand to an attorney or to some good attorneys that can, fight your fight, you're screwed. And, and then you have to look at, is the cost worth the fight? There's sometimes where I've looked at stuff and been like, yeah, it's not worth the fight. Sometimes we'll send a 30-day notice of intent to sue and we won't fulfill it just to get compliance. And you got to do it anyway, otherwise you can't get attorney's fees in most courts. But so people in the second book, this gets into the details. You published like all the dockets or all the docket paperwork and details, I guess, in these books too.
Yeah, yes, sir. Everything unredacted, and that's kind of one of the great things. And kind of like with the cases today that we're finding out that everything's redacted, and you can't really make heads or tails. Everybody gets full credit, and there's no redactions. It's a great thing.
Yeah. So in the end, it might be a great learning book for up and coming attorneys in school and different things. And of course, maybe how we need to change the laws to where the person with the most money, the biggest companies can't win. And there's more of an advantage to the little guy. Because like you say, they can bankrupt you. They can bleed you out. I mean, I've cost people a whole lot of money that their attorneys had to sue them for.
No, it's funny. You're 100% right. And it's funny that you said that the way you said it is because the way this book reads, it exposes everything in a way that it's so crystal clear that it's almost an ethics. It's almost an ethics balance board for your attorneys because of their oath of canon that they signed into office saying that they're going to uphold. When they read this, they almost have to go turn it in because you can't not unread it once you read it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like what's going on today. When you read it, you can't unread it. Well, once you see this, you can't unsee it. It is what it is. I didn't create the rules. The law is what it is, and that says what it says. So it is what it is, and that's the great thing about it.
Yeah, and in the end, not everyone always wins. So it ended up forcing your company into bankruptcy. How did that happen? Did basically they cut you off from the supplies that you needed? This company.
Well, yes, my company, we specialized mainly in the elderly population. So we were 95% Medicare. We had a lot of nursing homes we worked with and things like that. So whenever they shut the Medicare funds off, kind of hard to keep things going when 95% of your funds are cut. But, they told me to, continue as much as I could. So I put a second on my house because what they accused me of, here's the funny thing. The initial claim was that I didn't have chart notes to suffice the need for my testing. And that's the funny joke is because I'm a reference lab. We get orders from doctors. So their argument couldn't be further from the truth. I'm not required to have chart notes. In fact, if I had chart notes, that'd be a HIPAA violation. So they're accusing me of something that's impossible. And so that was kind of the initial attack. And I talked to the nurse. She's like, "Oh man, this has got to be some kind of mistake. Yeah, this is dumb. You're obviously, this can't pertain to you. You're not a doctor's office, but you got to realize that we have a CLIA number and we make our money as a laboratory. 99% of all your laboratories are doctor-owned laboratories. They're small doctors. They have a CLIA number. Having a reference lab is there are very few of us. So they make the law for the masses, but you have to apply common sense as well. And so obviously I knew I did nothing wrong. And despite that, I had a OIG audit 4 months prior where they went and looked at 296 patient files, took 3.5 months, and I passed with flying colors. And they said, "You know what? You're the first lab we've never taken a penny from." So here I go from having a perfect record to having my funds frozen off of some kind of charge that couldn't even be possible for me to achieve. And then they turned around and took that and threw me into a hit pick audit and just let me into that, accusing me of things. And that's a 3-5 year process. So obviously drowning me out, but I ran as long as I could. I built out millions of dollars into the special account that they kept. The funny thing is when you look in the book, you'll see some of the codes that they punished me on. Some of those codes I'd never received money from. They kept that in that special account because I was just brought on a new UTI line for urinary tract infections. And so we just developed some new tech that just crushed the elderly market where most of your hospitals that were doing urinary tract tests, they're growing it out the old-fashioned way on a Petri dish. And that would take about a week to 10 days to do true susceptibility and all that. So I just spent $1.2 million working with Thermo Fisher, and we came out with a 36-hour true mic sensitivity. So you're talking record changing, and the hospital has to pay a guy $70,000 plus a year to do this test by hand where we're using PCR and we're running them, in groups, and we're able to, cut that cost down to nothing. So obviously the hospitals in Texas, all their elderly hospitals started sending us business overnight, and we were cranking it. But the funny thing is all that money went to this account, and they kept it all, and they turned around and hit me in charges on that. And so, I was fined on fees that I never even got paid.
So as we go out, what do you see the future is for you? Is there more books coming on these sort of topics, or what's the future hold?
The future's simple. I'm just going to take the experience I've had in the last 20 years of healthcare, and I'm getting ready to just open up a holistic healing center. And so I'm just getting ready to get back at it and get back to helping the community. Yeah. So I'm really excited, real pumped. The book, basically, it set me free, gave me the ability for everybody to get the truth, to hear what's going on. And because, believe it or not, I didn't say anything for the last 5-10 years. So everything Shay was saying in the community attacking me, I didn't retaliate, because I knew one day the truth would get out. And so it finally got out. It's in the book, and hey, I'm just letting it let us do its job. So I let that all behind me. I'm getting on with my life.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, and giving us the deets on stuff and all that good stuff. So as we go out, give people, I guess, the email they can contact you, and then if you do get the website up for all this, let us know, and we'll add that to the post later on.
Yeah, if you're interested in questions about the book or any type of futuristic healing centers that we're going to be building, reach out to me. Contact me at Will Webb, WILLWEBB 47 at att.net. That's Will Webb 47 at att.net. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you. You have a blessed, wonderful day, my friend.
Well, thank you very much, William, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Folks, pick up his book wherever fine books are sold, Unjust Gaggle of Gavels, Volume 1, and you can read all the details about it. Probably a great story, especially for aspiring lawyers. Thanks for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1, the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
All right, there we go. We're out.